There was something going on at my apartment. I don't know what it was, but I would be sitting there, looking up, and noticed that this mobile thing that I had hanging above my bar was spinning around. It made no sense to me. Because it would do this in the winter when there wasn't any air blowing, there wasn't fans going, nothing. Now there was a vent above it, but I don't see how it would spin one direction and a few minutes later spin the other direction. Made no sense to me. A couple times I had people over and they witnessed it too. They could make no sense out of it. Well, I had quite a few people come and hang out. I lived on a street down from the college. And literally 5-minute walk from the bars. And so everybody would come and hang out there. The front of my apartment would look out into the pool. You can see the swimming pool right there in front of me, in front of my door and window. And on the other side of my wall, on one side, on the north side of my apartment, was the laundromat and a payphone. And that's before cell phones. So people would come there, hang out, sometimes do laundry, use the phone, come over, either want to get in the pool or just come out to watch people at the pool or whatever. So it was kind of a cool place to hang out. And plus, there was sometimes weird things going on there at the apartment. For example, the mobile would spin, or I noticed at one time the ceiling tiles, every other one, not every one, but literally this one and then skip one and another one, and every other ceiling tile would lift up about half an inch and come back down. I'm not kidding. There couldn't have been anybody doing that. If they were up in the ceiling framework, they would have fallen through. They couldn't have moved that fast. Moving, back and forth and picking those up, however you would do that from the other side. But it would happen. The first few things that would happen, I would be there alone and I'd just watch it and I'd go, alrighty then. But whenever I would have visitors over, they would see it, they'd totally freak out. I had gotten so used to weirdness like that going on. I'm not saying it didn't bother me, but it wasn't so alarming like what they thought it was. Well, I noticed, though, that I was sleeping. I would want to sleep in the living room more than the bedroom, because I just kind of felt claustrophobic in there. And I don't have claustrophobia. I normally have no problem with that kind of thing. But I always felt so closed in, kind of like I needed a quick escape route. And I was closer to having one if I was in the living room asleep, if that makes any kind of sense. Like a safety type thing. But sometimes I would go sleep in the bedroom if I felt, if I felt okay to do so, if that makes sense. Which I know it doesn't, but there's times when I didn't feel safe sleeping in the bedroom and couldn't explain why. So, and I had these couch daybed things that you put up against the wall, had a corner table, and then the other one, it was kind of an L shape. And so I pretty much just hung out on that, slept on that. Well, my son, when I was in college, he was staying with his dad. And when he would come, of course, me and my friends would be up late in the living room. I would go ahead and put him to bed in the bedroom. And I asked him, do you ever feel uncomfortable in there? Do you ever feel like you don't want to be sleeping in there? And he said, well, not really. He said, but sometimes I have problems going to sleep. And I asked why. And he said, because of that baby up there. And I said, what? He said he saw a baby that was small up in the corner of the room, laying on its back, but up in the corner. And it looked like it was wearing a astronaut suit. He said it was kind of like a bubble thing over its head. And it would look down at him and kind of smile and giggle. And it was taking notes, writing something down on a pad in its, on its legs, in its lap. And I said, that doesn't scare you? And he said, no. He said, kind of at first maybe, but he says a baby, it's not going to hurt me. Well, you have to understand at the time he was about 8. So I was trying to think, is this like an imaginary friend type thing that we all have, or usually kids have when they're young? Or is this a spirit that somehow manifested itself as a baby so he wouldn't be alarmed? I couldn't answer that question. That would be the only thing I could come up with. So, and I wanted to get someone there that would maybe know, but didn't know how or where, and this is before the internet, and so it's like, yeah, well, how do I figure this one out? Because there's something there. He's seeing something that looks like a baby in a spacesuit. I don't get that, but okay. Who's to say, it's not right, So after he went back to his dad's, I waited because I didn't want to have anybody doing anything weird there when he was there. So I waited till he got back to his dad's. And a friend of mine had told me that he knew people that attended a spiritualist church about an hour from here. And I didn't know what that was. They explained that they basically do spirit detachments and that kind of thing. Some of them are psychics. And I went, well, that might help. That would be interesting. So they actually set it up to where these 2 women came. And they told me, don't tell us anything, just sit here or go through, turn on all your lights. And come back here and sit down, and we're going to walk real slow through your apartment, take notes, talk amongst ourselves, and then we're going to come back out and talk with you about what our findings. And I said, okay. So they did. And I thought it was kind of cool they did it that way, because that way, whatever they tell me, I know it's not because of something I told them. I didn't give them any ideas to add to his story or whatever. So I thought it was kind of cool. I trusted them a little bit more when they did that. They didn't want me to tell them anything first. Then afterwards they did. But, and they wrote down their feelings, observations, and such, and then shared that with me, and then wanted me to tell them what I'd experienced. And then they gave their recommendations. But I thought that was pretty interesting. They said there were 5 spirits in that apartment. 5. And that was a little tiny 1-bedroom student apartment. I mean, tiny. They explained one was in the bathroom in the closet, which I wasn't surprised because I'd always felt like something was watching me when I was taking a shower or on the toilet. Always did. And so there were two sliding doors. I opened one of the doors to where it was basically behind the other one. When I walked in, I could see right then into the closet up there on the left and see nobody was in there. But I still felt like somebody was watching. So I got a bedspread and tacked it up over that entrance. And then every time I'd go to the bathroom, I'd look back there before I went and sit down. But I always felt like someone was watching me. There was no doubt. And there was a couple little pinholes in the walls, and I knew the maintenance or the workshop thing was right behind the bathroom wall. Like if I was on the toilet, would be right behind me. And so the few holes, pinholes and stuff, nail holes that were on the wall, I got Band-Aids and put over just to block, just in case that was what I was feeling. Somebody looking at me from there. But they explained there were 5 of them. One in the bathroom, a couple of them that were really nasty, mean, dark, angry, and then a couple other ones that were cool and real mellow. And she explained they come and go. They're not there all the time. They're not gonna hurt, they're not meaning to hurt anything, but they've been there a long time. And she felt like they were there on the property. They weren't attached to the building, if that makes sense. They were there because of that's where they grew up, or that's where they died, or that's something, I don't know. But it was the area, the location. It wasn't the physical structure. And she explained to me things I could do to make them go away. So, I had an apartment that was haunted by 5 ghosts. One, my son visually saw it several times on a regular basis, he said, like a baby, looked like a baby. And they would, one of them, I don't know, every other ceiling tile lift up about 1/2 inch, and the mobiles that I had hanging over my bar would spin them one direction and then the other. And I would have people come over and try to like bait them to get them to do something, and nothing would happen. And then other times they'd come over and they'd try, and right then they'd start. So that's my ghost story. Well, that's that ghost story. That's not the only house I've been in that was haunted, or apartment. Well, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gave you something to think about. If you've got a story, send it to the email address provided, and keep listening. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and if you liked it, hit like. This is a brand new channel, and you can help us make it grow. Send in your stories. Bye. Be safe out there.